welcome to How to Be a Generative Human, which I consider to be the most important thing that we could be doing at this time in human existence. And I was talking to you earlier about this quotation, which is, when a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. And the types of coherence that I'm really talking about are going to be integral coherence, that I need to have coherence with myself. I need to have coherence with my community. I need to have a community that stands together. I need to be in relationship with nature, and I need to be in relationship with spirit. So we're going to look at how all of those dimensions are just as important as each other now, and how we need to work with all of them together. I come from a psychotherapy background. Psychotherapy is not enough anymore, because the old psychotherapy focused on how you help an individual heal themselves and fulfill their potential in life. But a part of the problem in the world is too much individualism, too focused on ourselves. And then individualism is combined with consumerism, is combined with capitalism. So we're all out to get, perhaps not us here, but in general, the world is more out for more for ourselves, more for our tribe or our nation or our community, but we don't think about the whole. And of course, when you think about particularly the climate issues, the environmental issues, we realize that we're all in this together. We're not separate from each other. And when we look at resources in the world, it's, it would be so much better if we were cooperating with the Chinese, for example. We can't just fight each other anymore in the old way that we used to fight each other. So that idea that fulfilling my individual potential in life is sufficient doesn't work anymore. And so I'm offering a model today that will expand that model, include that model, but expand that model with an idea that if I have the resources of myself as an individual, if I have the resources of us as a community and the global community, I've got access to so much knowledge and information and insights and ideas and art and culture from the global community. If I can really lean into nature, into Mother Earth, and really be nourished by Mother Earth, if I can really connect with spirit, whatever that is, whatever it is that came from non-existence into existence, if I can really connect and be nourished by that, then perhaps I can be someone with you and with other islands of coherence that can make a difference in the world. And sometimes I feel quite hopeless about making a difference in the world, but the idea that a small island of coherence can make a difference in the world gives me hope that perhaps we can all be parts of lots of small islands of coherence. Perhaps a small island of coherence can sort of morph together with other islands of coherence, or interact with other islands of coherence, and create what, the starlings do this thing called murmuration, where they all fly together in very, very large groups. And a while ago, I was involved in some environmental activism in 2019. And someone said to me, why are you doing it now? The political situation isn't very good. Will the politicians listen to you? I said, well, I'm really not doing it from an intellectual level. I'm doing it as a part of a murmuration. In Britain, there was a sort of murmuration around environmental issues. So how can we flock together as a world? I can't make it happen from my head. It has to involve body, emotion, mind, and spirit. It has to involve all of that. And also the unconscious. I'm about to go on a 500-mile journey, a 500-mile pilgrimage on foot from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean, across high mountains, which will have snow on them. And it's going to take me 90 days. But the idea to do that didn't come from my conscious. It came as a sort of intuitive feeling. It emerged out of somewhere deep inside. So a part of what I think will make a difference in the world, that will help us get to a new place in the world, is paying much more attention to those things that come out of the body, that come out of the unconscious. It's not all. Some of the problems of the world have been caused by just running everything from our heads. You know, their limited left brain consciousness. So, of course, The Master and the Emissary is this wonderful book, which is about how the body and the right brain, if you like, used to run the show. And the left brain was the sort of the communicator. The left brain was the one that made the bullet points, that made the list, that organized it into a sort of formal order. But it was the more intuitive, soulful side of ourselves that was in charge. And then through the centuries, we slowly moved more and more left brain to a point where our education system is 90-something% left brain, very little about soulfulness. So when people say, you know, what do you expect to get from my journey across these mountains for 90 days? When people ask me, when did you decide? It's more that something decided inside me and my head followed along behind. By the way, that book, The Master and the Emissary, it's quite a hard book to read. If you want to read it, I would suggest listening to it on Audible, because the first half of the book is all the neuroscience, thousands of neuroscience bits of research that come together to create the model. It's an overview, a sort of meta-analysis of the neuroscience about the two hemispheres of the brain. And then the second half of the book is quite a detailed academic analysis of how cultures move from ancient times to an increasingly right brain position. So it's very, very sort of sound work. And I think we know this intuitively. More and more of the psychotherapies, the personal development schools are about the body. You know, the body is the body keeps the score is the big message at the moment, isn't it? And but also these other aspects about community, connecting more in community, connecting more with nature, connecting more with spirit. And by that I don't mean religion. I mean the direct experience of something that's bigger than our individual egos, that direct experience. But I'll talk about that more. So the structure of the evenings, I'm going to do a presentation for several minutes, and then I'm going to lead a meditation. Then I'm going to have you talk to each other about what you got from the meditation in small groups for a short amount of time. And then I want to spend a good piece of time at the end just talking in community, because that's a key part of this approach, of this model. So let me screen share and just so it's not enough to just work on ourselves as individuals. It's not enough, well, to just be community, although actually that would be a big enhancement. If I am community, my brain is organized around relationship. From the moment I was born, I was a relational being. My whole neurology, my whole nervous system is about being in relationship with other people. It's not something separate from who I am. That's who I am. I am nature. If only one little bit of my brain thinks it's not nature, it says I am, nature is out there, nature is separate to me. That little logical linear piece of my brain that thinks that I'm something separate from nature, it's the only part of my body. The rest of my body operates exactly the same way that the rest of nature operates. It's systemic. So we'll talk more about that. So I'm going to take us through this set of slides about each of these categories. If I can get my slides to do what they're meant to be doing. Great. So at an individual level, I'm very keen on helping people find their life calling. What is the purpose that you have in life? What is the meaning you have in life through through giving your gift to the world? What is the meaning that you are pursuing, that you're fulfilling in your life? What is your gift to the world? And that will combine with your strengths as well. How do you combine your strengths and your gift to the world? And then I don't know if you know about flow states, but there's states when you're really aligned in body, mind, and obvious examples are sports, so, when you're really playing tennis and you're just absolutely in the flow, or any one of your sports, or a musical instrument, or driving your car for some people. I know people who go into flow states when they're doing the washing up, or some activity like that, or cooking. What is your favorite hobby? What are the things that you love to do? What gets you into a sort of timeless, a timeless state where you really have to focus to do the activity, but it's not stressful. So the thing with a flow state is that it needs to have enough edginess that you have to really focus. It needs enough attention for you to really have to focus, but not so much difficulty that you're getting stressed and freaked out. So it's finding that edge. And I think we probably all have hobbies like that. Hopefully, there are times in your work life when you're in flow states. Then there's the sort of two sorts of psychological resources, the two major sorts. One is the circle of support that you have in your inner world, the people who love you and believe in you. And those are such great exercises, building the inner world, the inner circle, remembering and talking to the people who love you and believe in you, but also people who, those can be intimate people, intimate friendships. They can be from the distant past and the present, but they can also be mentors or colleagues or a school teacher who once talked to you in a way that really touched you. It can be archetypal forms. It can be celebrities. Nelson Mandela is one of my inner resources. You know, when I'm really struggling with something and I've really got to have dogged persistence, I call on Nelson Mandela. When I think about non-violence, you know, in a situation where I really want to act non-violently, I think of Mahatma Gandhi. So we have those sorts of inner resources, and that's something that's so important to build. And of course, we also have these body-mind centered states. Hopefully you have a meditation practice, or some people call it a coach state practice, or you do Tai Chi, or you do yoga, or you go into an open state while you're walking the dog. Really, there are sort of three dimensions. There's the body mind, if you like, dimension, but also there is the field as well. But we'll talk more about that when we talk about community. So then we've got, so there's, in each of these levels, we've got the two halves. One is the resources, you know, my individual resources that make me great, that make me powerful, that help me give my gift to the world, that really empower me. And then the other side is what stops me, what holds me back. And of course, there's all the emotional wounds from the different times in your life. And many of you will know that the most significant and difficult emotional wounds are, of course, the earlier the emotional wound, the more difficult it is to shift. And one of the problems with talking therapies, just to name that, is that the talking therapists have a more difficult time working with the pre-verbal ages, you know, before 2-3 years old, and also more difficult with the womb, which is why more and more of the modern therapies are body orientated. And so all of that emotional healing work that many of you will know about. Then there's the whole thing about celebrating my vulnerability. It's a part of being human to be vulnerable. It gives me my sensitivity. And yet, rather than being ashamed, men particularly are taught to be ashamed of their vulnerability, but actually to embrace our vulnerability. It's attractive. When we relate to people, it's attractive. So then, and also finding the gifts in your wounds. I haven't got enough time to really talk about this in detail, but when you've done enough healing of your wounds, what you've learned in the healing process becomes a part of your gift to the world. So very briefly, my twin brother and I, my mother had post-traumatic stress from the Second World War. She wasn't able to relate emotionally with her babies. My twin brother's choice was at the age of 18 to become a heroin addict, and he died at the age of 40. I just realized that I would go the same way, and I got involved in personal development. So my whole personal development journey comes out of that woundedness. So now that everything I've learned is something that I can offer back to people. So that's an example of finding the gifts in your wounds. And of course, that's very strongly there for me in my relationship with my brother. And increasing our embodiment and empathy. So the more I heal my emotional wounds, the more I can live happily and be comfortable in my body rather than be disassociated or dissociated. And the more I can feel my feelings and feel my intuitions, the more likely I am to, if I'm empathic towards myself, I'm probably going to be more empathic towards other people, more sensitive, more aware of what's happening for other people. So then we've got, we are community. What's happened here? Oh, well, yeah, it's fine. So, you know, only connect. We are relation. You know, relationship is, you know, what does a baby do? What does a small child need? The small child needs relationship. Adults need relationship. So we start with the family, and it's all in our nervous system. We start within the family, then in the schools, then in our work life, then in our communities. But we can really, when we, you know, one of the things about the modern world is that the sort of postmodern world is that we have to find our own tribes. We have to find people who are like ourselves. And those are the small islands of coherence that I'm talking about. The people I was brought up with, that I went to school with, are not the people I want to spend time with. I went to an English private school, top English private school. They're all bankers and generals and things like that. That's the sort of professions that they went into. So we have to find our tribe, but finding our community, strengthening our communities, building our communities, those small islands of coherence is so important. And not only is it important for us to find the people who are like us in our communities, but also we really need to, you know, the research around collective intelligence shows that if you have a team that has a broad range of ages and a broad ranges of cultures, it will make better decisions than a team that is more homogeneous. So although we want to find our communities, we also want to be inspired and touched by diversity. Diversity is not just about political correctness or a nice to have. Diversity from the neuroscience experiments that have been conducted in labs and all sorts of places show that better decisions are made by a diverse group of people in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of culture, all of those different sorts of things. So one of the things that we need to learn, we can learn, is how to be inspired by diversity. I was very lucky because my father was stationed in Sri Lanka at the end of the Second World War, and he fell in with a group of artists who call themselves the 43 group. My father was quite rich, so he not only, you know, they became his best friends, and his mentor was in that group. He also bought many of their paintings and launched them later on into the international art market. But I had a lot of very well-educated, interesting Sri Lankan and Indian people in the house when I was young. I've also had the chance to not spend a lot of time, but I've had a chance to spend some really good opportunities of time inside African culture, the best of African culture. The more we can broaden our experience, the more we can have a sense of the community of the world. Because ultimately, my community includes, you know, I studied Japanese martial arts for 15 years. I've got a really strong sense of Japanese culture. I've got, when I was 18, I had a Taoist, a Chinese Taoist teacher. I can draw on any culture I have contact with. I can draw on that as a part of my own inner thinking, my own inner collective intelligence, my own diversity. And just to mention from the body, of course, you know, without going into too much detail, you know, I have the head brain, you know, but I have my heart brain and I have my gut brain. Both the gut brain and the heart brain can make independent decisions. Yeah, they make their own decisions. They have their own decision-making processes. And then, of course, you've got the vagus nerve joining them all up. Then you've got all the hormones. We are a collection. We are our bodies, our community. Our organs communicate with each other. We have millions, I think perhaps possibly even billions of gut bacteria. We have whole biosystems in our guts. So we are a community inside ourselves. And so recognizing all of that, how can I maximize my collective intelligence of this body that I am? But also, how do I do that in my local community? How do I do that on Facebook when I'm posting about Gaza? How can I try and how can I be a peaceful person in posting about Gaza, talking to my Jewish friends, talking to my Israeli friends, without being, but also speaking truth? You know, there's so much for us to learn here. Field states are, of course, you know, I can have body-mind connection, but can I really connect outwards and feel what's going on in the world, or feel what's going on in a group, or empathize with what's happening in, you know, the parents and brothers and sisters of the hostages, and also the people in Gaza? Can I bring my attention to all these different people? There's so much wounding that's really helpful to be aware of. I don't know what your personal history is, but I have, in terms of my transgenerational wounding, you know, I have a branch of the family that was wiped out in the Holocaust. I have some people who were living in Germany at the time of the Second World War. I have the English upper class who were the colonialists of the world. I have the soldier class. I've got a whole mix of, and I've got some Irish, which of course was another group that was oppressed by the British. So it's really interesting to notice how much I carry. I was born in 1955, 10 years after the Second World War. There's so much about me that is nothing to do with me personally at all. It's come through my genetic and epigenetic patterning, through my parents, through the culture I was brought up in. I need to heal that for myself and also for the world around me. And of course, we've got the cultural trauma of, you know, the different populations. I mean, you know, we just take, you know, the trauma of the Jews in Europe and the Jews in the Soviet Union. And we can also talk about the trauma of the people in the Palestinians of the last 75 years. Every group has its trauma. One of the traumas that I'm interested in is the trauma of the oppressor. There's this wonderful book called My Grandmother's Hands, a black educator who's teaching police officers in America about diversity. And he shows them a picture of a lynching. And he says, what do you see? And they rather shamedly or shamefacedly look at the person being lynched and talk about that. And he says, no, look at the eyes of the white people doing the lynching. And then you can see their trauma. You know, the people who are oppressors have to be traumatized to be an oppressor. We haven't got time to go into all of that right now. So, you know, one of the things that's been helpful for me is to recognize how some of my ancestors in the building of the British Empire were acting out of their own oppression, out of their own trauma as oppressors. And I think you can see this in the Middle East right now. On both sides, you can see traumatized people acting out their trauma as oppressors on the other side. And so then, you know, there's a whole thing about, how do I advocate for social justice in the world? How do I advocate? How do I try to, you know, so I want to understand everybody, but sometimes I need to speak out. So how do I do that? You know, speak out for social justice. So then we're talking about the next level, which is nature. So I've just spent two weeks in Greece, teaching in Greece. You know, I was blessed by the sky. I was blessed by the forest on the mountain. I was blessed by the smell of the earth. I was blessed by the flowers. I was blessed by this beautiful part of the Aegean. I was blessed in so many ways. It was so nourishing. My body came out of the ground for hundreds of thousands of years. I lived in the earth. It's only so recently that so many of us have lived in cities. So it's so nourishing and healing for myself. And not only that, but awe-inspiring. It seems to me that one of the easiest ways, cleanest ways to access the spiritual is to look at the wonder of nature and to be awe-inspired, or to look at a night sky. And then all of that has the effect of opening me to my senses. I can't, much harder to be stuck in my head when I'm out in a wood or a forest or on a mountain or in the sea. And so then, of course, we need to, also do the healing around that. There's a lot of denial because, in the grief process, what happens is that one of the things people do is they deny that the person's dying. There's an awful lot of denial, an awful lot of, we can come up with wonderful technological solutions, or, maybe all of their estimates are wrong, or all of those things. But how do we face, if you look at science, if you are interested in science, there is such overwhelming evidence to support the predictions that are taking place around the climate emergency. There's so much evidence about the loss of species and biodiversity. And of course, you could do a whole talk on each of these topics, but biodiversity is what enables the system to be stable. As we lose species, we lose stability in the ecosystem. And so the diversity of the ecosystem is super important. It's not just that we don't want to have all the elephants die, it's that every species contributes to a homeostasis in the system. And of course, I don't know what it's like for you in other countries, but in Britain, we've really people have got very upset about all the sewage that's being put into our rivers, that's not only destroying the fish, but making it impossible to swim in many of our rivers. And of course, with the seas, I read in the newspapers the other day, those little tiny little balls they put in deodorants, the microplastics. They don't get taken out by the sewage works. They get put back into the rivers. They now find samples in male semen of those microplastics. The more we have the instruments to measure these things in detail, the more we discover that's horrifying. And so there are two things that we can do about this, not only to become aware of it ourselves, but to be an advocate, to be someone who speaks up about climate change or sewage in rivers or whatever it happens to be, but also perhaps to be an activist, to take some sort of political action. So then we talk about spirit. And so I am all of this and much, much more. So first, I've called it serving archetypal forms. And what I mean by that is that in Buddhism, I take refuge in the Buddha, or I take refuge in a male archetype, male Buddha or a female Buddha. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are many different things. Or you take refuge in Jesus. You say to Jesus, I put my life in your hands. Or you imagine spirit in some way, and you just say, I would love to serve my life to serve this archetypal form, this spirit, however it works for you, whether it's love, whether it's healing. What are the archetypal forms that you're connected to? So that's sort of the first level of spirituality, which is that, how can I be someone who serves? And it could be something that, the archetypal form that comes through Milton Erickson, the healer. It could be something like that. It wouldn't have to be, but for me, it's quite interesting. I'm a Buddhist, but I've got a relationship with Jesus. Love. How can you argue with love? How can you argue with his behavior? He was impeccable. Every tradition has impeccable mystics and people who are connected to the one, who are serving the one with their heart and soul. And I think we need to do that now. We have to say, my life is, I'll be dead soon. What shall I do with the rest of my life? How can I serve the universe? How can I serve this wonderful experiment on planet Earth? What can I do with my life? How important are some of my little goals and the things that I'm trying to do, or my fancy holidays? Where do I really want to spend my time and my money? What's really important to me? And then, I haven't got time to go into it, but there's sort of relating to higher power, which is, I've called it serving archetypal forms, to relating to those higher powers as something separate to, but I'm relating with, talking to, having conversations with, receiving messages from. But there is also the non-dual aspect where that through those sorts of practices, and I have to say through mindfulness and meditation, and of course they have mindfulness in the Christian tradition and in the Jewish tradition and Islamic tradition as well. Getting really present in the present moment, getting so present that I'm not aware of the past, I'm not aware of the future, but I am aware of awareness itself. The kingdom of heaven is within. And I can't talk too much about it, but some really simple practices in each of the traditions will take us to a place where we have a sense of being that is, you could call God, or you could call Buddha nature, or you could call something else, the profound sacred. And of course, when we're, if that's what I am, so the ocean has waves, and the waves rise and they froth and they disappear, and they're there for a while, but they disappear back into the ocean. Now, if I identify with the wave, I'm going to rise, I'm going to froth a little, and I'm going to die. If I identify with the ocean, I've always been here and I will always be here. So there's a great sense of peace that comes from that. So one of the purposes of all of this is to simply for me to be at peace with life, to be at peace with myself, to be at peace with the world community, which I sometimes find difficult. There are certain figures in the political scene in the world who I have extreme difficulty with, and that's something for me to work with. To be at peace with myself and life. And for me, a part of this that comes out of this is the loving all beings and loving existence. For me, when I include all beings, I actually include all the trees and the plants and all of that as well. And existence, something incredible's happened. How did all of this get here? I'm in absolute awe that I'm a part of this experiment or whatever it is that's going on here. And then, of course, the thing we have to heal is that isolated self, where I measure my life on how successful I am, or how good my relationships are, or how much money I made, or the relationships with, whoever, my children, my grandchildren, or whatever. And then I've called it loosening existential anxiety about our lives. What I mean is that it's sort of the opposite of the peace. That even, I don't call myself an anxious person, but I'm always thinking about, how do I get this done? How do I get that done? How do I make this safe? How do I make sure I balance my books? How do I make sure that I sort out this teaching gig or this work? There's so much of that going on about our existence. And it is good for me to think about the next teaching gig and put some attention to it. But do I need anxiety as a part of that? Anxiety about my existence. And then I've called it coming home to the one, which is really, experiencing myself as something that's risen out of existence. And the little I will stay for a while, but then I'll just merge back into with the bigger whole, whatever it is. And so for me, the exciting thing is that I work on all of these levels. Of course, you could say there's another level, which is how you integrate all of them. But for me, the spiritual one integrates all the previous levels. How do I develop myself in each of these levels, both in terms of the resources that each of these levels give me, but also, the healing that needs to happen for me in each of these levels. And different sorts of healing. There's the healing my personal transgenerational trauma. There's also taking some responsibility for the actions of my ancestors without beating myself up for it, but taking some responsibility for it. Taking some responsibility for the consumption that Europe and the West has created, which means that we will be, the worst. The people on the equator and the people in the global south will be the big victims of climate change, and it'll impact us much less. There are sort of big issues of social justice here that I don't know if I can do anything about them, but I want to be aware of them. I want to be aware of my responsibility. You know, I love the earth. I am the earth. You know, the Mother Earth gives me my water, my oxygen, my food. You know, when you're young, your mother feeds you. And when she is old, you look after her. You know, that's sort of the way things happen, isn't it? We look after our parents in their old age. I'm not saying the earth is in her old age, but there's something about, well, I can return the gift in some way. And of course, the question is, we can feel very powerless about all of these things. There are things we can do. Someone challenged me the other day. We're just about to have elections in the UK. You know, I think my MP is in my local town. I could go and knock on his front door every day, you know, or I could go once a week. You know, I could be a pain in the ass with my local, a very pleasant pain in the ass with my local MP. You know, there are things that I can do. I can clean up, I am cleaning up some of my own consumptive behavior, you know, and I think it's not about, we'll have to do everything, but we can take little steps in the right directions. Healing, you know, in trauma therapy and somatic experiencing and those body-orientated approaches, we do titration. You do a little bit at a time. In forming habits, the way to create a new habit is to make a tiny little change. And then spirit. The isolated self called Julian, you know, causes me lots of trouble. You know, I can get some great ego moments as Julian, you know, strut my stuff, you know, be clever or whatever, be funny, you know. But by and large, you know, the isolated self causes me more trouble than feeling one with community, feeling one with nature, feeling one with spirit. So to heal that sense of separation and perhaps hopelessness about existence. So I think that's enough for us to work on for the rest of our lives, don't you think? And we can take it one step at a time, one little bit. But it's all of those, as far as I'm concerned, it's all of those levels. It's not one of those levels. They're all intertwined with each other. And if we do all of that, if we pay attention to all of that, then some people think that we need a massive shift, evolution in human consciousness and behavior for the planet to do well. I would agree with that. I'm not particularly hopeful, I have to say, particularly around the environmental stuff, because our programming is so short term. We think about this year, we think about next year. But at least I have hope. When I think about creating small islands of coherence like we have here today, I have some hope. So, and I'd rather be with hope than with hopelessness. Which do you choose, hope or hopelessness? So find yourself small nuggets of hope, and don't have those small nuggets of hope be based on other people doing. Maybe somebody else will do something. That's the passive bystander. Someone's being beaten up in the street, and people walk by and saying, I hope somebody will call the police. You know, I hope somebody will speak up. You know, we can't be passive bystanders. We have to say, if not me, who? If not me, who? So I've been talking for a long time, so I'd like to go straight to a meditation, talk about it afterwards, to meditate on these 4 levels. So for me, the hope for humanity is that small islands of coherence happen of people working on these 4 levels. And it's happening all over the place, described in different ways. So let's do the meditation. I like it if some people keep their cameras on because it helps me lead the meditation, but few people like to turn it off. But by and large, it's great for me, but then I'm sort of connected with people rather than a screen. Somehow the amazingness of human consciousness, I can sort of reach through the screen and feel you. And you're communicating back to me through this incredible mechanism. So I'm just taking a deep breath, and I'm aware of my feet on the ground, wherever they are. There's something quite symbolic and powerful about our connection to the earth. So that the chair and my feet and the foundations of this house, whatever it is, however many stories up you are, you're connected down to the earth. So I'm aware of that. And then I'm aware of above the ceiling is the sky above my head. And somewhere between the sky and the earth, I sit. And then I use my ears to experience the field around me. I can hear birds outside the window. I can obviously hear my voice, and you can too. There may be house noises. My ears bring into consciousness. You probably can't hear it because I've got filters on my Zoom, but I heard a motorbike going down the street. What do you hear outside your house? What do you hear inside your house? And what do you see with your eyes, perhaps in your mind's eye? If my eyes are closed, I notice the darkness on the back of my eyelids. I notice specks of light or color on my eyelids. And I also notice images in my mind's eye. And then I listen to my inner voice, but I listen from a distance. If I can hear the birds, if I can hear the sound of my computer, if I can hear outside sounds, then the inner voice is only one thing in all of my awareness. I'm not that voice, it's just one part of me. I can listen from a distance and be curious, be interested, be compassionate, but I don't have to believe it. I don't have to change it. It's just someone talking to me at a party. And I'm just aware that of the skin of my body, the largest organ in my body. Noticing where the air touches my skin and where the clothes touch my skin. Perhaps even where the hair touches your skin. Then I notice the big muscles of my body. Notice a big muscle. I often mention big muscles, but I don't want to discriminate against small muscles either. So perhaps we can notice a small muscle. And then I can notice my viscera, my belly, my heart, my throat. What's happening in there? And then paying attention to my breathing. I can be aware of my potential in life, your sense of your purpose or your life calling, your gift that you give to the world. You can be aware of your strengths, what you do that you're good at. You can be aware of the people who believe in you, believe in your work, believe in your life, believe in that you're growing and learning. People who love you. And you can be aware of all your mentors, whether you actually met them or whether they're mentors in your inner world, like Gandhi and Nelson Mandela are for me. And you can also be aware of the archetypal figures that support you. This is really the spiritual in a way, but there may be great figures, great saints, Buddhas, teachers who bless you and who you serve. And then there's all the things that you do when you're at your best, when you're in flow, when you're giving your gift to the world and it's really working. And also when you're great in relationship as well. And with all of this resourcefulness, with your open heart, with your wise adult mind, we can bring tenderness to the places in you that still are on a journey of healing. We can be compassionate. We can be patient about the places in you that are still on a journey of healing. Learning to accept our vulnerability. Learning to share it with the right people in a way that creates intimacy. Perhaps you've begun to discover some of the gifts that you've got from your wounds. Perhaps it's taught you to be compassionate or empathic or sensitive or deep. And yet I'm not just an individual. I'm also a part of a family. I have a history. whether or not I'm closely connected with my family. I was very closely connected with them as a child. Or the carers. And hopefully for some of you, that will be a resource, and for others, it's not. But who are the people you feel really connected to now in your life? Who are the people that see you, that get you, that you can talk to, that you can have intimate, soulful conversation with? And how have you reached into diversity? Perhaps having friends of different ages. Perhaps having moved through different cultures yourself. Perhaps having moved from the community or the village you were born into in a different community. And where are the communities that really support you, that really see you, that really get you? Small islands of coherence. And what are you good at in terms of relating in groups and teams and having a sense of how to bring people together? Whether it's in social life or professional life, or in your local community, or nationally or globally. What are your strengths? And what inspiration do you have from other cultures? And what do you hope to continue exploring, deepening that inspiration? And are there times when you've really felt connected to humanity? Looked at someone different, but just felt we're all humanity, we're all people? And perhaps you're aware of transgenerational wounds that have affected you through the generations. It could be just patriarchy or misogyny down the ages, the women treated badly down the ages, or gender, lack of gender, very fixed gender roles. Perhaps you've been lucky, there isn't much there. And do you have cultural trauma? Does your culture have trauma, both as the oppressed and as the oppressor? And perhaps if you have different strands and cultures, how do they all impact you? Can we be compassionate and tender with what we have in our personal and transgenerational history, the history of our ancestors? I'm not responsible for what my ancestors did, but I can also take some accountability for it to make a difference in a positive way. I wonder where you have an interest in helping people, whether it's supporting women at work or supporting different age groups or interacting kindly with people from other cultures. Where's your interest in healing the world community? I noticed recently that I need to learn to be peaceful in how I interact with people at war. I'm healing something for myself. If I can be a peacemaker, perhaps that will have an effect on the world. All the skills that I'm developing to be someone who contributes to the global community. And then sometimes when I'm worrying too hard about my own life or the global community, I just go out into nature. How do you get nourished by nature? Where do you go to be nourished by nature? Have you had experiences of time in nature, perhaps prolonged time, that's been healing for you? Have you ever had a holiday in nature where you came back feeling so refreshed? Have you ever been inspired by the magnificence of it all? Whether it's looking into a baby's eyes or the neck of a swan or a flower or the stars at night. Have you ever felt yourself just opening into the vast existence and feeling one with it? And with all of that feeling of the beauty of the nourishment of nature, how do you feel about the way the climate is changing, the loss of species and biodiversity, the pollution? And are there ways in which you take little steps or can take little steps, both in terms of your own behavior, but also in terms of influencing the world, to bring healing to this part of who we are? When I imagine Mother Earth, the Earth, and then I go out to the solar system and just wonder at the solar system. And then I have the galaxy, the Milky Way. And then I think of the universe. And then I wonder how the universe came out of non-existence into existence. And then I feel awe. The incredible, immense beauty and diversity and sophistication and complexity of this world and this universe touches me so deeply. I wonder if there are archetypal forms you have a connection to, saints, beings, Buddhas, that you relate to in your soul, in your heart, and how you might activate those connections more. If you are serving an archetypal form such as love or peace or awareness of our true nature or healing or peaceful warrior or creativity or love, can you say to that force, I serve you, I am your servant, let me be your channel even more, let me be a channel for you. And then even deeper, the kingdom of heaven is within. Whether it's awareness itself, or whether it's love in your heart, our most profound, essential nature is none other than whatever it is that's created this universe. The innocence of the baby before we were hurt, before we were educated. Can we feel into that more often? Can we practice presence and peace as a daily practice? Can we learn to love a little bit more? Not just the people close to us or our tribes, the communities that see us, but also the people we hardly know, who we bump into on the street or on the train or in another country, or the animal, the creature, the rock, the mountain, the tree. And can we bring all of that sense of our connection with this greatness and just allow it to help relax the anxiety of our individual lives? I come out of nothing, I return to nothing. Let me just be in awe of the moments in between. Can I increasingly identify with the wind in the trees, the sky and the air, the whole of humanity, the rocks and the earth? When I die, can I go back to being one with it all? Just relax back into being one. And so with all of these resources, I am an individual. I am a community. I'm even a world community. There's so much richness for me to draw on. I am nature. I am spirit. I am existence. I am aware of everything. With all of this that I am, bringing healing to all of these levels, the individual, my body and life, the world community, to nature, to my sense of separation from everybody else. To bring healing to all of that. Small islands of coherence, just little steps, connecting with others, taking little steps, leaning into those connections with people, taking little steps, finding solace, finding companionship, finding support with others, taking little steps. I can't save the world. Community can. Nature can. Spirit can. I can just lean a little bit more into places that nourish me as an individual, nourish me in relationship, in community, or nourish the community, nourish nature, that nourish our sense of spirit and connection. One step. At one level, when I'm one with everything in the spiritual, there is just being. There is nothing to save. Other planets will appear in the universe, whatever happens. How can I bring that feeling of relaxation? And have compassion for people, the world community, nature. Myself. Loving myself, loving community, loving nature, loving the magnificence of existence. Taking time to really enjoy the magnificence of existence. Taking time to be held in the arms of Mother Nature, in a forest or a riverbank or an ocean or a mountain. Just to lie in Mother Nature's arms, listening to the sound of the wind or the rain. Can I relax and be nourished in good company? Or can I look into the eyes of someone from another culture and see the humanity that they have that is identical to mine? And feel nourished by that. So when you're ready, just begin to stay deeply connected in this deep state, yet also notice this community, this field. Each other in this virtual, amazing virtual world. So we're going to go into small groups for about 12 minutes. Each person gets a chance to talk for 3 minutes. I will send you messages around timing. The two questions are, the first question is, what did you get from the meditation? And the second question is, what do you want more of? What do you want to do more of in your life? What did you get from the meditation? What do you want to do more of in your life? So groups of 3, one pair. Just going to change something. Great. So groups of 3, one pair. I'm going to do the timing for the groups of 3. So that will be it'll be 12 minutes in total. So that's 6 minutes each in the pair. Starting now, the pair should do their own timing. What did you get from the meditation? What do you want more of in your life? What do you want to do in your life? What do you want more of? Starting now. Welcome back. Welcome back. Here we come, almost there. I think we're here now, actually. Great. Hi, Jenny. So what I want to do now is I want to do a sort of double process. I want to hear from everybody about a little bit about just a single sentence, really, on what you got and what you want more of, but really quite distinct, because then I want to do a second round of how is this community and what do we want from this community. So let's hear from you to start with, Maxine. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, thanks, Julian. If I do it well, I remember. And that is, and I was just with Mark and Linda, and I said to them, I think for me, that was just the nicest meditation that I've done for you, with you. Sorry, for me, and it was for me because I felt like there was much more space in it. So when you started it, you spoke from your experience. You know, I feel my feet on the ground. And then you continued with what
I'm really interested
in the expansion. So
it's nice getting this back, but what did you get? What did you get?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I got from that was more space to be myself. So sometimes finding guided meditations, it's not there isn't enough space. to expand. So it's feedback to you, but this is what I got from it. I got more space. And what I'd like from the community is more that where we can share that expansive space a little bit more in meditation.
We're going to do the community question second. So we're going to do it in the second round. Thank you so much, Jenny. That's so beautiful. Maxine, a single sentence on what you personally got from the meditation.
I got a reminder of how much I enjoy and miss meditating. I don't have a regular practice anymore, and this was just a wonderful wash through of joy and openness, and a reminder that, yeah, this is good stuff. Thank you.
What do you want more of in your life?
What do I want more of is, well, more connection, more community, which we're going to get into, more spaciousness, as was just mentioned. Yeah.
Thank you, Maxine. Christina.
Thank you, Julian.
Which one I got?
Oh, Christina Jimenez.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't notice we were two Christinas here. Well, in my case, I've been dealing with some challenges recently, and going through this practice today has been so helpful that I got directly into a state of restfulness. And also your painting in the background was kind of a resource for me as well, because some images that I had from these last days, just looking from the window of a hospital and seeing just, different species of trees. And so when I saw that painting there, I said, oh, I had that resource and all that I need with me. And it was great to reconnect to the essence of life going through the process.
What do you want more of in your life?
Yeah, the interconnection of these four realms, practice daily to have this interconnection, and also being grateful for that. I'm very grateful for you doing this, Julian. Yeah. I was missing that. Thank you.
What was your experience, and probably more important, from the meditation, what you want more of in your life?
Oh, was that me, Julian?
Yeah. Wendy, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. First of all, a deep gratefulness for connection. I see you as one of my really deep resources, somebody who really sees me, and that, as you know, is so powerful. A holistic lightening, that's all I can say. All the different levels, and I did get spaciousness and I got empowerment. And what I really want more in my life is just to put all that out into the world and hold the obstacles, integrate them with the resource, and just be out there, touching community, touching spirit, and always the nature, of course. Yeah.
Wendy. Mark, what do you want? How was that? Very briefly, and more, slightly longer sentence on what you want more of in your life.
The meditation was lovely. I went to a very deep place, mostly with very little content. What I would like more of is some clarity and some ideas about how I can take my meditative experiences and anything else I have to offer out into the community to help and support.
Yeah. Great, beautiful, Mark. Thank you. Mandy.
Oh, I have trouble staying put during meditation. So maybe it was for me a way to get to a space when I can settle down and try to connect to something else that my thoughts that overload my brain. Yeah. So it was difficult in the beginning. And then at some point, something happened. So I just let go and get the connection with people around and the community in here.
What do you want
that
more
was
of in-
nice.
What do you
Giving,
want more of in your life?
I want more time.
More time
Mhm.
for what?
I'm longing to have more time, and I had when I go on meditation, I always
Time
have
for what?
songs in my mind. So I had the Pink Floyd time, The Dark Side of the Moon. I love that song because I need more time to be more with my family, work a little less, and give more time to people who could need my skills and what I do to help them. So
Thank
make
you.
more time in my life.
Yeah. Thank you, Mandy. Candy.
So I think that the meditation just allowed me to relax in a way that I haven't been able to in a while, and also expand. Yeah.
Right.
And what I want more of in my life is to be able to settle into that space more frequently as a daily practice. Thank
Brilliant,
you.
Candy. Thank you. Claire.
Hi, Julian. Thank you. For me, it was healing of myself in the womb, actually. So I wasn't expecting to go that deep, but it did, and it was lovely. So thank you. And what I want more of is more connection with my kids and husband, and grounding. So that came to me as well during the, getting out into nature and barefooted and more grounding.
Beautiful. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Barefooted out into nature, more grounding. Sounds
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Linda.
Yes, this meditation led me to a deep silence. That's what I used to do for the silent meditation. And the new is I got some excitement in me by the end, and my heartbeat jumped faster. I kind of like, oh, some excitement there. That's new. And what I want to for my life is to get more communication or connection with my members in the SEMA or here in the group. So to join more communities, to contribute and to receive.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pauline.
I from the meditation, I felt very nurtured, and I felt like I'd come home and that I should do more of this. I'd missed it, and I got deep relaxation, and I nearly fell asleep. It was so relaxing. And what I want more of, so I want to have a daily practice of things like meditation, because I'm feeling a bit at sea, and I want more community and more social connections with people.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Erica.
The wrong button. What I got out of the meditation was really just how stuck I've become. I've had long COVID, and the meditation brought out just how many parts of myself I have lost access to. So what do I want more? I want more revitalization of those parts of me and more connection to people, not necessarily just a small group.
Thank you, Erica. Very touching. Maggie.
What I got out of the meditation was a deep feeling of gratitude. Gratitude of growing older, of, the many small things in life that I have got. What I want more of, it was best put by Daniel, who I was with, was more of these small islands of coherence, like is within in this group.
Beautiful. Thank you, Maggie.
And I'm really sorry. I have to go now.
Okay. Thank you,
It's not like me, but I have to go now.
Maggie. Christina. Christina Wetter El Sayed Alf.
Thank you. You pronounce my name marvelously. Thank you. Well, anyway, during the meditation, I got lots of images, lots of impressions. That's what I want to have more in my future, to use to profit from nature. I got so many occasions around me to be in the forest or to be in the nature, and I don't do it enough till now. But in the future, I will do it. I decided that last Sunday, and today I was remembered to that wish. That's it. Thanks.
Right. Beautiful. I'm sorry for rushing you all, because my second question is really important, which is what do we do to build this small island of coherence when we meeting groups? How do we make this stronger? What more of this sort of meetings do you want? How do we make this little island of coherence more powerful? What are your thoughts? So in any order, how do we build this community? Actually, there are many people here who haven't been on previous calls. Jenny.
Well, just one thought I had at the end of because both Mark and Linda have both have meditation communities, and so I cheekily said, well, if you'd like to invite me to your meditation communities also, I'm quite up for that, which is very cheeky. But I also thought, in that sense of co-working, like people go, oh, I've got to do some work on the computer or do an assignment or whatever, so let's hop on. Sometimes we could do that in meditation together in between a big meeting. Do you know what I mean? If it's impractical to always do a big meeting, we could just hook up and, be co-workers for each other to do meditation.
What a few people get together to do a meditation.
It's just a nice, crazy idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. What else? What other things that can we do to build this island of coherence, generative citizen, inner peace for outer peace, whatever this is? What do you want? Maybe you just like the topic, you come to this one talk and you don't need to build an island of coherence, but I'm interested if there's any interest in that.
Well, I love Jenny's idea of a meditation group, actually. That would be wonderful.
Great.
I don't know how we could do that, but I mean, I would be very happy to be involved with that.
Well, one of you could organize it.
Yeah, I wonder if we could do it in a way that, if somebody's got time, they could just broadcast a time that they're available. And if anybody else has got that time, they could hop on. So it's a bit more loose. Do you know what I mean? Because if we have one fixed, so we might have, within this group, there might be 5 times during a week that people are sitting, and anybody might have an opportunity just to hop on to that, to that sitting. I mean, my life's not that regular, so I don't really know, but do you know what I mean? It's
so practically speaking, I think because the whole list is more than just the number of the whole people who signed up for the session is more than just the number of people at the session. So what I'm suggesting is, if you think that's a great idea, which I think it is a great idea, put your email address into the chat so that Jenny can get that email. Would you be willing to circulate it? Do you know how to download the chat? Well,
do.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'll download it, and if you can't get it, I can send it to you. So
maybe I could work with Wendy on that. Will we do that together, Wendy?
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Yeah, I'm just typing my email into the chat.
So let's talk about other things, because that's one idea. It's a brilliant idea. But what else do people want this community to do?
On the meditation point, sometimes people do meditations for 21 days. You commit to do to meet or to listen to a meditation for 21 days. You have to share it amongst, I mean, not necessarily 21 days, whatever the course is, you know. So
it's actually a great idea, you know. We Wendy and did this. We did a little workshop series called Deepening Your Experience with the Sacred. And it was a weekly session, but one of the most powerful parts was we met every morning to meditate. Wasn't it amazing, Wendy? So for I think it was an 8-week session, we met every day for 8 weeks to meditate.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that sounds good, because it sounds it makes you do it.
Yeah.
It sounds intense, and it sounds like you have to commit. You know, you have to decide, I suppose, what like you meet at 7 in the morning. Do you get up and Zoom at 7 or whatever?
I don't want the whole conversation today to just be about this one idea.
No, okay.
Because I want to make sure that I think it's a great idea, and everybody's putting their emailers in, so there can be a really great conversation about it. But I'm just aware, I want to make sure that other voices are heard on other topics. But I think this is really great. As you all know, I think I would participate, but I'm going to be away. I'm walking across mountains for 3 months, 90 days, without any access to the internet, mobile phone, or social media. So I'll be involved for the next 3 months.
Wow. Julian, do you do that on your own?
Yes, but that's a different topic. Yeah.
I know.
Wendy, were you going to say something?
No, I was.
Sorry, Candy, were you going to speak?
Yeah, this is kind of just the second time that I've connected with anything that you've done, Julian. And both times I found that, like, in my world, I've been able to, like, just get back centered, and the guided meditation really helped. But I love the breakout rooms to talk about just whatever's happening. Yeah. And being witnessed. And so that's really important.
Yeah.
An important part that I'm so sorry that there's no inner peace, outer peace this summer, because I really look forward to those.
Yeah. And today we just did 4 minutes. Was that enough? Or did you like the inner peace, outer peace format where we had, a group of 6 and everybody, it was quite a long time in a group of 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it gave me the opportunity to really witness as well as be witnessed. So maybe smaller groups with longer times to be witnessed and to witness. I don't know. You can play with it. Are you walking the Camino or what?
No, I'm walking the Haute Route in the Pyrenees. Anything else about, Erica? I'm just keeping on track because we're going to finish in 6 minutes. I'd love to answer the other questions, but we're finishing in 6 minutes. So keep us on.
I would be interested in anything that anyone wants to share, whether it's a random thought of use that to them, or a minor triumph or a major triumph. I would just like to know what people are doing, and you certainly learn from what people's triumphs or insights are.
So how would you do that, Erica?
I don't know. Does this group stay as a group? I mean, so that we would then do the equivalent of sending an email? I don't know.
Well, you could. I mean, almost everybody's put their email address in, so this group could stay as a group. Normally, this is just this will get added. This list gets added to the generative citizen list, and then when we do an event, we send out. This group gets included, but we're going to create an email list just from this list, from the people who put that, so anything could happen. You could, and any one of you could say, actually, let's try doing a sharing group. And here's a good time for me. Yeah. But I'll tell you what it takes. It takes someone really taking the bull by the horns, saying, okay, I'm going to try and make a sharing group happen. I'm going to choose. I mean, this is a good, one hint would be, wherever you are in the world, you've turned up here. So this is a pretty good time. Because if you go for a time that works for you in your time zone, you might find it works for no one else. So, chances are this is a good time given that we're all here. But everybody will get this email list, and you can send out an email saying, I'd love to have a sharing group. you know, can someone help me facilitate it, or I'll facilitate it myself, or we can work it out at the time, you know. And I would have separate topics. One person's, you know, Jenny and perhaps Wendy send out something saying, we're going to run a meditation session at this time. Somebody else sends out something, we're going to have a sharing session. I mean, let it just be spontaneous. You know, what you make happen, what you want, is my suggestion. I mean, I'm also going to think about these, and I'm going to think about how generative citizen in general can do this. But anything that this group wants to do for itself is great. Did that answer your question, Erica? Anything else? What else? What other thoughts do you have? Maxine, did you?
I have a thought about expanding out from our small coherent subsystem of this group, of maybe you know, reaching out to one other person to join that wasn't here today.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean, we also don't want, I don't think we want to get unwieldy with the size of the group, but yeah, the expansion piece of it occurred to me, to send out the tendrils.
I think that's great. I think inviting friends to join whatever's being organized is a great thing. Yeah. Yeah. I feel very touched by this group. Any other thoughts from anyone else?
A big thank you to you.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Finally unmuted, so I can add my thank you.
Sorry?
I said I finally unmuted myself, so I could also say thank you.
Yeah.
Any other creative thoughts about what the community can do? Not just this community, but the generative citizen community. I mean, well, you know, we will be running more events in the autumn, and as a result of this, I might run some more events more often. So, because this seemed to have worked really well. So, yeah.
Just out of interest, how many people signed up? You said there was more than
About 35 or something.
About 35. So that's about 20 people then didn't turn up.
You usually get a third. That's what happened.
Okay.
You get a third of the signups. And Mark, you're muted.
I just echo that with my first Monday sessions for the generative group. I usually get about between 15 and 25 people sign up, and if I get a dozen turn up, that's a good turnout.
Yeah, it's a great turnout. Yeah.
So yeah, rule of thirds.
Yeah.
That's for Maxine. That's the people you were thinking about, maybe.
Maybe. One of the things that, you know, for the future is expanding my circle. So this might be a way to do it. I have a very small circle at the moment in my life. Having retired, having, you know, all these various reasons. It's like, but expand.
Wendy, you know the format called ecos groups, don't you?
Yes, I have an ecos group, Julian. Yeah.
It's a self-managing group of people that basically share, and the group divides the time up, and you practice listening skills. So you don't comment, you don't coach, you don't, you know, and there are some handouts on it, but it's very simple. One person gets to share, and sometimes some groups at the end of it say, we send you our love, we send you whatever, but it's also not about talking intellectually. It's like, let go of your first thought, what you want to talk about, and feel in your body what's there. And there are groups that go on for years and years and years of people peer facilitated.
We've been going for 4 years now.
Yeah.
So thanks to you and Dina.
So that's another sort of option, is to have, you know, self-facilitated peer groups, because you can already feel the connection in this group, because we did the meditation, so that we get connected with ourselves, and then we get connected with each other. I mean, I was a bit rushed with going around the circle, but you can feel the connection. So you can imagine if this group met regularly, you'd go very deep. So Anyway, I always like to end on time, and it's time. So can just everybody say a word about how you're feeling right now? It's a good way to end.
Calm.
Excited.
Empowered.
Curious.
Connected.
Peaceful.
Joyful.
A small island of currents.
Grateful.
Great. Well, it's lovely to see you all. I hope to see you all soon. Hope to see you on my return, and I hope you all get together.
Julian, be safe.
Yes.
Joy.
Yeah.
Say,
Have a great
take
time,
care.
Julian.
Look,
Okay.
Don't go walking on your own if it's very hot.
No, please.
I'm more worried about the glaciers actually myself, but anyway.
Wow.
Don't leave your phone behind.
Bye-bye.
And Wendy, please will you save the chat? I mean, I have tried saving the chat, but just in case, or anybody else.
I'm saving the chat.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, grateful.
Lots of love. Take care.
Take care, Julian, and please come back.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Julia.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you all.